This is News 8 at 11.
We are following breaking news tonight. An inmate who escaped a Cheshire prison just a few hours ago is back behind bars tonight. 25-year-old Louise Clark of Wallingford escaped the Cheshire Correctional Institution on Highland Avenue earlier tonight, right while families were out trick-or-treating.
News 8's Amy Hudak is live in Cheshire with more on him. Amy.
Louis Clark was taken into custody in Meriden a short time ago after a tip came in that he was in that area just hours after he escaped from the Cheshire Correctional Institution. Several armed officers and guards were at every corner of this maximum security prison, which is surrounded by residential neighborhoods, creating chaos and cause for concern with kids out and about trick-or-treating. The Department of Corrections saying Clark was not accounted for after outside recreation time for the inmates this evening. He was considered a low-risk offender who was in a minimum security housing unit on the campus of CCI. Louis Clark had 7 prior convictions dating back to 2011 in Connecticut, including engaging police in a pursuit, interfering with an officer and resisting arrest, criminal trespassing, violation of probation, driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol, driving under the influence with suspended license, and threatening. We do have a short snippet from a police scanner moments after guards learned Clark had escaped.
According to DOC, he would be in his gray khaki outfit, and there'd be possibly blood on him from jumping the fence.
Whether to place Clark in what is called a high...
You can expect a laundry list of charges against Louis Clark. They will be coming in the next several days, possibly even the next several hours. We also are being told tonight that he is being transferred to another prison where he will be in maximum security. For all the latest developments, stay with us on air and online. Live in Cheshire, Amy Hudak, News 8.
Now let's get a check on your forecast. This is a live look at New Haven this evening. A little rain possible overnight. And to start your Thursday, here's meteorologist Joe Fury. Joe.
All right, thanks, Ed. Everybody. Yeah, we had quite the change in weather from earlier today when it was a white landscape with the frost in some towns that were in the 20s. Some towns today had almost a 40-degree temperature run from the morning to the afternoon. And what an afternoon it was. Sunshine, blue sky, thanks to Marjorie from East Haddam with this great picture, the Goodspeed Opera House. And yeah, finally the fall foliage is showing its true colors. All right, look at these colors here. There's a lot of rain, thunderstorms, tornadoes down here across Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas tonight. This rain is going to be coming in here as we head on for Friday. So first day of November is looking good. Temperatures that are in the 50s to near 60 right now will stay in the 50s overnight tonight. 60s tomorrow. Could be a shower in northern Connecticut, mainly dry into tomorrow evening. So yeah, it's a balmy start to November, but then there's a lot of rain on the way. We'll talk about that in the 8-day forecast coming up.
All right, Joe, thanks. A new report card is out for the infrastructure in Connecticut. Civil engineers grading everything from rails, roads, and bridges, and even drinking water. And the news is not good. News 8's Bob Wilson live in Hartford tonight to break down those new reports. Bob.
Yeah, don't forget wastewater. That's what's going on behind me right here. They're working on the wastewater lines. You can see they've got the lanes blocked off. They got the police here, the cones out. And you can see more of that if they invest more in the infrastructure. However, it's a tough balance. They know they have to spend billions of dollars on Connecticut infrastructure, but then how do you pay for it? And can people hang in there as the traffic cones go down?
The roads around here are horrendous.
You don't have to tell Connecticut residents just how bad the infrastructure is around the state.
The vehicles are taking a beating from it and getting damaged, destroyed, and the state doesn't really seem to want to do much about it.
But the Connecticut Society of Civil Engineers has put it into writing in the form of a report card. They give out a C- for state bridges. Almost 8% of them are structurally deficient and many well past their prime. They gave a B- to the railroad system, which has had tens of millions of dollars of expansions and renovations. A C- for clean drinking water. The system is old and outdated in many areas, but clean. A D+ for wastewater. They say 50 of the wastewater treatment plants are at risk of flooding during storms. And a D+ for roads. Many we talked to thought this was generous, as Connecticut is continuously repairing the same roads year in and year out.
Construction state, there's no question about it. I mean, now we're all going to the polls next week, and they're going to raise the taxes even more and try to fix this, and it never seems to get fixed. The roads are still a mess. They're still being worked on constantly, but the taxes go up.
The reason for the D+ for the roads, because they've been deteriorating for so long, and there's more than 20,000 miles of roads in Connecticut. The civil engineers say they need to spend about $1 billion a year for the next 30 years in order to bring them up to par. The rails are in good shape. The New Haven to Hartford line just been repaired, along with Amtrak and Metro North. They say those are in good shape. However, $40 billion over the next 2 decades, Governor of Connecticut says that's not nearly enough.
We're being beaten in the job competition by Massachusetts, New York, and New Jersey. All of those states have spent much more on transportation than we have.
The governor has said from day one, infrastructure is the key to growing the economy and attracting new businesses. It is the lifeblood of Connecticut.
I told people that if we didn't improve transportation, we wouldn't get our fair share of job growth out of the New York metropolitan market. We haven't, and it's all about transportation.
And the governor says, yeah, he's been preaching that all along. It's very difficult, very expensive. But just think about that. $40 billion. That's a lot of cones out there. And in the future, if that happens, this might become the state tree. We're going to need a lot of patience. I'm Bob Wilson, reporting live in Hartford, News 8.
All right, Bob, thank you. The parents of a West Haven boy who died in a hot car in July are now facing criminal charges. 34-year-old Dusan Jenkins and Latoya Walters turned themselves in this afternoon. Jenkins charged with negligent homicide. Walters charged with making a false statement. Both charged with reckless endangerment and risk of injury to a minor.
We're just very sad that, you know, that this is the result from an accident. We all see it as an accident, an unfortunate accident, and a tragic accident. We're keeping the faith and we're praying and just believing that this will they'll be exonerated.
Police say video shows 2-year-old Davion Jenkins and 4-year-old Dusan Jenkins leaving their house alone and getting into the family car. Their father later found them. 4-year-old Dusan died. 2-year-old Davion survived.
A former West Haven police sergeant is on the other side of the law tonight. 49-year-old David Tomorrow turned himself in. He's charged with 87 counts of forgery in an alleged overtime scam. A warrant says another former officer accused Tomorrow of lying about hours on overtime slips and forging supervisor signatures to approve them. Other officers said the allegations are false and blame officers who had issues with him. Tomorrow retired in August while on paid leave. A North Branford man is accused of stealing $200,000 of seafood from a Hamden fish market. 57-year-old Lance Graver was arrested. He worked at No. 1 Fish Market in Hamden. Police say he admitted to stealing $800 of seafood weekly for 4 years. They say he would get to work early on Monday, put the seafood in his car, work a shift, then go home. The owner reported the theft in April.
The New London School District is investigating a high school teacher who allegedly told his students how to tie a noose. A student posted video on social media of the teacher talking about soaking the rope in water and tying the knot properly. He also says the knot has to go between the proper vertebrae so it breaks the neck rather than strangle the person to death.
It was complete surprise and shock, and actually I was sick to my stomach when I heard it.
He didn't have to go that great in depth because some students could have been suicidal or depressed that day, and God forbid, what if they acted out?
The teacher was not in class today. Apparently, he was talking about the death penalty in a government class.
Police in Waterbury are searching for a man accused of stealing from a synagogue. News 8 rode along with officers today as they search for 54-year-old David Brito. Police say he's the man seen in this video rummaging through people's things at the B'nai Shalom Synagogue in Waterbury. They say he also stole money from several charity boxes.
That's our priority right now, is to try to take him into custody. A place like a synagogue is a place of worship.
Police say Brito has a criminal past, including burglaries in the New Haven area.
News 8 is your local election headquarters. The Republican candidate in the 9th State Senate District is apologizing now for a campaign mailer that a lot of people on both sides of the aisle found offensive. That mailer from the campaign of Republican Senate candidate Ed Sharamut arrived in mailboxes just days after that Pittsburgh synagogue shooting. It includes an altered image of his opponent grinning and holding several $100 bills.
His mailer played on deeply disturbing images of anti-Semitism that have attacked the Jewish people for hundreds of years.
With the juxtaposition of money and a Jewish candidate in this mailer, that suggests an age-old anti-Semitic trope, and so we had real concerns about it.
After at first defending the mailer, Sharamut is now apologizing. He declined an on-camera interview but issued a statement that says in part, quote, "It was never our intention for the mailer to be anything more than a reflection of Mr. Lesser's policy record. However, it's clear now that the imagery could be interpreted as anti-Semitic, and for that we deeply apologize.
With Election Day now less than 1 week away, politics are on the minds of many voters this Halloween. News 8's Amy Hudak talked to parents trick-or-treating with their children about the key issues they care about.
Governor Dan Malloy dressed in a Red Sox jersey, handing out candy to trick-or-treaters as he spends his final days in the governor's mansion. Caleb Peck spending Halloween with his daughters, but Election Day on his mind.
You know, I'm really excited to see where things go and also a little bit nervous. I think that there are a lot of questions that are on the table, and I think we're all trying to figure out what's the best direction to go.
Peck works in mental health and deals with Medicaid.
The thought of cutting Medicaid services is nerve-wracking. There's a lot of people that would lose services. On the other hand, I run a small business and there's a lot of taxes.
For Clayton Cutler, this election is about the economy.
I'm mainly concerned about just Connecticut maintaining its competitiveness in the national economy. New York and Massachusetts have recovered well from the financial crisis. I just feel like Connecticut's kind of lagged in that.
With 6 days to go, some voters like Rolinda Williams still undecided.
It's going to be a last-minute decision when I decide on who to vote for.
She says this election comes down to providing for her family.
My thing is taxes, because we do pay a lot for taxes right now. And that's a lot. That hurts your pockets.
For Governor Malloy, this will be his last Halloween, handing out candy on Prospect Avenue. I'm Amy Hudak, News 8.
A big project approved for Yukon. Next year on News 8 at 11, we'll tell you about that $45 million project that has been given the green light.
Paranormal investigators check out a historic home in Norwich built back in 1675. We'll tell you what they found.
Also, Halloween isn't quite over yet, but it's looking a lot like Christmas in one Connecticut town. We'll take you there when we come back.